years must move to another station. You cannot have a security officer serving in one area for 7 years, 10 years, 15 years. It is against public interest, and they make police officers part of the local community. They start opening bars and doing civilian things there, and marrying local girls and getting married to local boys. And you know, the police officer loses the integrity, the impartiality, and the esteem that he should carry themselves with. So I will perhaps engage the member further once that, and if the committee needs areas like Turkana, West Pokot, and other marginal areas, we know we have outstanding. At least I did Lokichogyo, fully operational, but we have Aro and Soguta Lokiriama. We have already identified the DCCs for those areas. The problem has been the infrastructure for hosting the DCCs and the other heads of department, because it's not enough just to send a DCC. You need other heads of department so that the sub-county helps the community access government services across board in a more appropriate manner. His Excellency the President directed us actually quite a while ago that the remaining 3 sub-counties must be operational in 90 days. We are behind schedule. I've explained myself. It was a resource because we have to set up the structures. And therefore, what we need to do, therefore, I'll be calling again the leaders from Turkana so that we agree what we do based on the resources we have to make sure that the 3 remaining sub-counties that needs to be operational are operationalized in the shortest time possible. Other than that, we are again relying a lot on our Ngao officers to do peace building across the 2 communities. But also we are investing in intelligence-led operations. Days are gone by where we were just informed that cattle has been stolen and we just send policemen just like that to look for cows. We're doing intelligence-led operations. It's helping us big time. Mheshimiwa will confirm. Even the few incidents of thefts on both sides, we've had recoveries. Unlike before, of course, we have not recovered 100%, but we've had improved recovery rate because we are using intelligence-led operational method. And of course, we are not in a bad place now in the fight against modernization program that has really helped us. In fact, we have just had some receipts of more sophisticated weapons, aerial equipment for the war against banditry, including armored drones and those kind of things, because we have to just upscale the war. And of course, we will be careful not to harm people in the process, innocent people, but we are also sending a warning to terrorists and bandits that we have a country to protect. 99% of Kenyans are law-abiding. 1% are the people giving us headache. And the law allows us to use force to neutralize the effects, the criminal effects of 1% against the 99%. So we have other administrative units. The table on page 3, which gazetted some with the details there. We are looking for resources. To make sure that all the operational, the administrative units are operationalized. I know I've given these promises for quite some while, but sometimes without adequate resources, some of these promises take about a bit of time to be realized. I commit to expedite these processes, and I'll be calling the relevant leaders for a round table in the next week or so. I submit.
Thank you, Chair and the CS, for your presentation. Honorable Chair, I think the issue of banditry in the 5 counties, and specifically Turkana and West Pokot has been recurring. It has been recurring business between the 2 communities. Honorable Chair, we need to, as a government, we need to identify the major causes of this conflict. Apart from stealing of livestock, there is a new emerging trend of trying to occupy the land belonging to the other county or sub-county. A case in hand, Honorable Chair, the Ministry of Interior has been gazetting administrative units anyhow, without taking into consideration the specific locations for those sub-locations. A case in hand, some sub-locations for Pokot North are inside Turkana South constituency. That is inside Nakwamoru location. There is this list of sub-locations which I want to present to the CS so that it can find out the specific, and even this committee has to go and visit these sub-locations which are inside Capital Division or Global Capital Division. They have chiefs, there are 3 chiefs in those particular sub-locations. They are operational inside. So I was requesting this committee, Honorable Chair, you can pay a visit and confirm yourself. The land that was allocated to KDF by Turkana County Assembly through the executive office of the governor is the place where these sub-locations have been put for Pokot North. So I will submit to this committee extra information about these sub-locations. So that is the cause of conflict. And the people staying in these sub-locations are the criminals who moved from Turkana to West Pokot. They are supporting the Pokots on the other side and directing the Pokots to where they can access, they can get the livestock. Honorable Chair, operationalization of these administrative units. I asked the CS to at least shed light on the new administrative units in Turkana South, but he went and gave me Turkana West and Loima. The member of parliament for Loima is here. He can appreciate that. But for Turkana South, I have 3 divisions, new divisions. That's Lochuan Kamata Division, Kalapata, and Nakwamoru. Those divisions have never been operationalized since when they were gazetted. That's sometimes back in 2021, 2022 there. And the locations are listed there. I want to appreciate those divisions and the location. Lokapel, Nakwamoru, Locheremoit, Kapese, Kalimoro, Angakipor, Loyapat, and other sub-locations. There are many. They are gazetted in paper. So, Bonasias, when these administrative units are gazetted, I thought this could be gazetted so that it can inform the budgeting. Because you cannot gazette something that you have not put something in place for. Honorable Chair, again, I need the CS. There is issue of these formed units. These units are there. Like, let me just give example of Kainuk, where we have the GSU as to police and everything there.
specifically the constituencies along the river. When with the response that CS has given on the issues of on the question of the steps that have been taken to apprehend and prosecute the officers involved and the administrator involved, he said very clearly that there were baraza that was called. You know where I'm talking from is about boundary issue. The baraza, the Zubaki location, it comes up to the after even the river, and I have Gababa location, so we share the same. We have chiefs in Gababa. We have assistant chief in another sublocation of Gababa called Abigure. We have DO division there. We have DCC there. So if the CS is giving me only the report on the other side, if there were barazas and there were herders involved, why is Ijara DCC not involved? Or the chiefs that were not, the chief from my side were not involved. I'm told that there's a baraza that will take place in this particular sublocation, which is in Tana River. Let us come together and do a peace building reconciliation. First, that information is fallacy. It's not there. And whoever gave that, because for a baraza to happen, two constituencies or two boundaries, there must be a notice. There must be a written notice to the both constituencies. It's not there. I want the CS to share that notices. It's not there. So this was just a one side, and that has been the trend for the last 60 years, where the chief comes from the other side. If there's a problem, comes to this side, he doesn't involve the other chief. They continue doing their own things, come with an NPR, use NPR and police officers to intimidate my people. So when he's telling me the CS, there are only 2 NPRs. There were 8 NPRs and 2 AP officers and 2 chiefs. Because immediately that thing has happened, the OCS from Masalani rushed to the site. And we have the OB, number, everything is written. How the OB was written is how I put in my statement in the chamber. So let us not make it that this is a normal process that happened or there's a fight. There was an intention to intimidate my people, and this happens on daily basis. Just after this incident, another 2 incidents happened in that area. So I think we need to do further extensive investigation on this matter. What I want to hear from the CS is the issue of the chiefs. These chiefs have been there for the last how many years? What have you guys taken any disciplinary action? Because you have only told me NPR disarming. I'm not seeing any chiefs have been taken any disciplinary action. I'm not seeing. So this is a culture that has been continuing. And if you don't take action, the 2 communities, actually I'm the one on the other side, I'm the one who is spearheading peace. We have lost cows there, we have lost even, we have seen instances, over 50 goats were killed, were slaughtered, and put into the river, on the Tana River. And those goats belong to us. But what have we done? We have solved internally. But this matter now, already people who have lost lives. So I think I'm not contented with the statement. Come with this, with NPR, because we are not in control. If these NPRs, they are being controlled from the other side. If there's a joint operation, why are we not involved in the DCC Jara and the DCC?
I think you've really made clear and passed your point. So maybe you can let the CS respond. But just to help us, I think actually your question on that, I think is very clear. The steps that have been, the statement that you sought, the steps that have been taken to apprehend and prosecute the NPR chiefs, APs officers. And I think the CS, if I heard him well, said is an issue being investigated by power, which by law,
excuse me,
yes.
If you hear the word the CS has said, he has only said 2 things.
Okay, he's here.
Yeah, he has said only.
But for purposes of time,
Chair, please, just give me time. Mine, it has not even taken less than 5
Chair
minutes.
regrets.
Yeah, I'm just requesting.
And I know you really passed your point.
Yeah. No, I'm saying I have asked 3 questions: the NPR, the chiefs, and the AP. What the CS has given me, he told me NPRs only. Where are the chiefs? Where are the APs? That's my question.
Yes, you can respond to
For the
that.
APs, the use of force is between the internal affairs units of the police and the IPOA, and I've said already, the two are working on it. Before arrests are made, there must be an investigation file which is complete and which has evidence that can sustain charges in a court of law. But I want to accept the suggestions by the honorable member for Fafi that we need to do a little more. Make sure I'm going to verify whether this peace building is involving cross-border participation. Because if it is not, then it is not going to yield the fruits we want. And I'm going to demand from our officers there in the two counties to ensure that it is done and file a written report so that we don't get anything wrong. But I really accept, that it has to be done properly because border issues can be very sensitive. They are long-standing issues. There are no quick fixes around it. And more than half of the counties of Kenya have this kind of very emotive and delicate issues that need to be handled well. I take the suggestions by the member of Fafi, and Ijara and Fafi, they are neighbors. I'm sorry for the confusion. The member for Ijara. Thank you.
So just on the same, I think, if I got him right also, carry investigation. If there were officers, the chiefs, were in any way involved in the wrongdoing, so that, of course, they can also, matters of discipline can be initiated.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Chair. CS, I just want to pursue what Honorable Abdi there has asked. I think these are the sort of questions that should never appear before a parliamentary committee. This is a strong omission by the Ngao officers on the ground. If they quickly came together, the culprits were going to be arrested and taken to court. So for that reason, I think going forward, this is really administrative. It is not policy. It is not within the ambit of the cabinet secretary. So for that reason, it's good the question has come. But I think it's high time we start that differentiation of what should come before a committee and what should be settled on the ground by DCCs and county commissioners. Thank you, Chair.
Just suggestion.
And it's already 11:30, so I kindly ask members to.
One suggestion. Waziri, I've had the privilege of serving with many other former members of parliament. Actually, this is the sixth member in Ijara. This problem has been there. It is historical. You are the first.
We don't need these formed units. What we need this KPR. You had promised us, you had committed yourself in that meeting and severally that you are going to add more KPR. Remember again, these KPR are more capable. Let me just tell you that because they can withstand that particular kind of climate, the nature of our environment cannot work with your formed units. They cannot. So please, if you want to support us on the issues of KPR because you had committed yourself, and on the issues of Aro sub-county.
Try to summarize.
Aro sub-county, I'm ready to support. Let's have contributory effort on this matter of Aro sub-county. From the side of CD, I've asked my committee to at least allocate some resources to this particular to put infrastructure for this particular sub-county headquarters. So I want to appreciate, at least you are helping.
Anything to add, Waziri? For correction, it's supposed to be.
I will take up the recommendations. Most of the recommendations, so we'll take it up with the member so that we see how to push the security agenda forward. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, we have got Waziri. We're supposed to be addressing the question of the Kenya-Ethiopian border, which is sorry. Oh, you want to add on Okay, we have the member for Lema, and try to be considerate of time. I'm really getting worried.
Thank you, Chair. Waziri, my name is Protos Akuja, Member of Parliament for Loima. And I want to take this opportunity to make a correction where you are mentioning Member of Parliament for Kacheliba constituency having a meeting with his counterpart. It is actually me. We have had 2 meetings in that particular corridor, and we are doing well. Chair, Turkana County has issues, serious security issues. And these serious security issues are contributed by the security team in that particular county. These guys, like what Member of Parliament for Taita Tavera said, the security apparatus in that county is not working. And I've been looking for you so that I can give you intelligence of what is happening there. The security is totally dead. They are not working. We have had several meetings with my counterpart and some elders, and we have told them to do a follow-up meetings to ensure that what we agree is being enforced. But they are never doing it. They have never done even one meeting because we have an intra conflict between people of my constituency and people from his constituency. And I think I remember we discussed about that. You even facilitated as one meeting. That follow-up up to today has never happened. So there is something to be done in Turkana County, right from the SCC to the county commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chair. I wished to also do a supplementary
Chairman, I think with your indulgence, the last question on Marsabit, a lot has been done by the ministry already. And last week, with the leaders of Marsabit were able to, all of us, including the governor and the senator, we sat with the minister. And a lot of work has been done on the ground. So for that reason, because of time, we can reschedule that. Maybe we handle the question of Honorable Kainan. But before I leave the mic, I want to say the following between Turkana and West Pokot. I was privileged to lead the committee that went to West Pokot and to Turkana. And I think, Waziri, what is really disconcerting is when you go to Turkana and West Pokot, it's as if you are between two countries, that other side, this other side. And I think during your tenure as the Minister for Interior, that notion must disappear. This is Kenya and these are Kenyans. The idea of this imaginary boundary, as if these are two neighboring states, must really be done away with. How should that happen? One, there must be intensification of coordination between the Ngao from both sides, the Turkana, so that they do regular meetings to make sure that these issues of raids and counter raids actually must be eliminated. The second issue is this issue of expansion by arms, where one community is able to expand into the area of the other. And what I have seen is that the Ngao officers, they generally know the administrative boundary, but they intentionally refuse to pronounce themselves to that, which I believe is a serious omission. And they must say that this location you have gazetted is in another area, so that you don't do it. Because when you are in the office, when you approach you, I think you do a lot of things in good faith, that you trust the leaders who are sitting here. Finally, there was something about identified criminals. Criminals are identified by name, where they are involved in this raid, that raid, but they are not being actually caught and brought before the law. It is just names with the CID, the police, and all that. And to an extent, these are things which have allowed impunity to reign large. And that is why I think we must deal with some of those issues, so that the members or the communities do not feel that we have been left to our own devices. Let us arm to protect ourselves. The issue of NPR, I think going forward, while it is doing good for now, it is not solution to Kenya's security as a sovereign state that is able to protect its internal borders. It simply means we must invest in the police services. Thank you, Chair.
Members, kindly, I had earlier told you that the Waziri will be attending another meeting, which is already like 40 minutes late. I will kindly ask you, kindly.
Chair, just wanted to.
Because we had already, like I know the member, kindly.
Mine, Chair, was just to commend, but also you sent me to West Pokot on Saturday, and we were expecting Waziri there. And people are very mad. They said he has not been to West Pokot since he entered the docket. I don't know whether the second time, but Waziri, it's just a request that despite the events of June and July, which indeed seem to have, I don't know whether that's the reason you've slowed down your pace. Waziri, keep up.
So kindly, Waziri, I'm really feeling guilty of the other member. They actually even writing me a lot of text messages.
If
So
you
just
protect
respond in a
me,
minute.
I'm okay, because your sister committee, the Committee on Defense, has been waiting for me, and they
Maybe something what they
Yeah,
said,
but
then we address the last thing. If
Yeah.
you are in agreement,
yeah.
we can defer the issue of Kenya Ethiopian border.
Actually, we had a very healthy discussion.
Yes.
I've told them where we are.
Yeah.
I was even a bit uncomfortable
Yeah, it's true,
for
I know.
us to air it out, but the member can brief the other members because of certain sensitivities. But we are making very good progress.
Member being not there and being a member actually from the same area and in confidence is really shared what the ground that has been covered. We can leave that one if need be, we reschedule. So just comment on what they said. And lastly, now, we have the big issue of the missing MCA for, which one is that? Dela. I know you did give a
Yes.
response. I read in the
but-
house.
Yeah, before
but
he
I
does
think-
it, can I respond very quickly in 2 minutes? All the other issues that have been raised by member for Loima and the member for Elgeyo Marakwet and my brother, the member for Teso North. The one on Marsabit, if we reschedule, I will request we do it in camera. The other one on the issues raised by the member for Loima, I think I need to engage you a little more. And I'm sorry for confusing me with your brother from Turkana South. Thank you for what you're doing. We'll continue supporting that initiative by the leadership. I will have an engagement with you. We see what adjustments we can make on the deployments of our officers there so that we tighten up the space. With regard to the member from Elgeyo Marakwet, she raised quite a number of issues. We have operationalized Kerio Central, Kerio Valley sub-county, which now is helping. Koloa is next, or Tiati Central. Actually, at 1 p.m., I'm meeting the member for Tiati in the office just to finalize a number of things. So we are on process, and we want to be fair, and because it's about the country, it's not one side against another. And that brings me to the other issue raised by the vice chair of this committee. Some of the challenges we face from communities and leaders as security people is this territorial notion about, like there's an extreme territorial independence notion, which actually works against the long-term national interests of having a united, indivisible country. Unless we moderate our, of course, community interests with national interests, we are going to make it impossible for the people of Kenya to move, work, live, and interact with the rest of people. And that's a discussion this committee and us as the policy makers needs to engage in before it runs us out of town. When I travel to northern Kenya, I find many communities. I find Somalis, I find Wakamba people, I find Kikuyus, and they are working, they are doing their things, and there are no many issues. But when we amplify and look as if those people don't need to be there, and that's not where they're supposed to be, then we are endangering the long-term interests of the nation. That's something we can have a discussion on in a most long-term manner. And that underpins some of the struggles we are having in the banditry prone areas. And administrative boundaries need to be clear, I agree, for purposes of administration and services, but not to say this is the county for this community versus the county for this community. That's dangerous for the country. And so I agree that when I took over the ministry in phase 1, the situation in northern Kenya, Boni Forest, was extremely volatile, and I made very many trips without involving local leaders deliberately. First, it was very emotive. It was also very risky, some of the places I was going, and therefore it was not feasible. Okay, it was not feasible. But I think right now we are in a good place. The operation is still on, but then the intensity, the volatility is less. I would be more than happy to have leaders together with us so that they own the process and help us expedite some of the interventions we are making. By that time, it was not possible completely. And also, when you have serious security issues, political leaders tend sometimes to support some of their people because some of the criminals also have votes. But I know responsible leaders will always say, vote or no vote, community and country first. And therefore, we will be involving leaders going forward a little more, maybe not in all cases, because some visits are operational in nature. They do not even, sometimes I've been in your county and I will not have a public engagement with members of the public at all. I'll visit the teams in the front line, have a discussion with them around operations and leave. But I hear you. Then on the question of that police station, please, Mheshimiwa, please write what you want done to me. It will be done. We will do what you want done. On the question of how far we are on the investigations, I was not anticipating this. Maybe I can find out, and as we engage, I can update you on this particular matter, because it was not part of the statements I'd been asked to respond on today. On more NPRs, I agree, and I also agree with the Vice Chair that the long term is to make sure the police, not the reservists, the police secure the nation. But at the moment, as a short-term measure, the NPRs, because of the advantages which were identified, are doing a good job. We are constrained. We cannot give all the requests. I know Marsabit has a request, Wajir has a request, Tana River has a request, but we'll try and make sure that we continue enhancing the capacity of NPRs. Then that's on NPRs, and then there was the issue of, from again, the Vice Chair of the committee on criminals who are known, not action not being taken. Actually, we've made a lot of progress. Example is Elgeyo Marakwet. We had 7 bandit commanders who were responsible for mayhem in Elgeyo Marakwet. And right now we are looking for only 2. The others are in court. The others fell as they tried to shoot at our officers. So we've made a lot of progress. It's only that security communication is sensitive. And if I sit with the leaders, I'll tell you, we had on our radar 7 major organizers of banditry. We are now looking for 3. 4 are either in court with cases ongoing. Others, when they were engaging the police officers, they were neutralized. I agree there is more to be done. Completely. There is more to be done, because unless you destroy the network of the enablers of sophisticated crime, you will be doing something and repeating yourself over and over again. Finally, the member for Teso North, who did not declare interest, that he was also my student sometime. It's good to declare so that so that you are not accused of bias. I've been to West Pokot 3 times, but not after my reappointment, before. I can say this without fear of contradiction. I have visited all the 47 counties of the Republic of Kenya. some multiple times, some 7, 11, 14, 20. The highest is Lamu, where I have been 21 times in 21 months, mainly in operational visits and covert visits, very few public. So I have been to West Pokot. I have provided NPRs for West Pokot County, a good number. They were trained, deployed, just as I've done for Elgeyo Marakwet and other counties. And maybe the leaders were saying after my reappointment, they wanted me to come. Last week, I was told I was expected somewhere. I was not invited. I didn't get the invitation. I was just told I was being expected somewhere in West Pokot. I didn't get the letter. And it is true. Dealing with the aftermath of the attempted overthrow of the Constitution of Kenya by criminals and dangerous people who almost burnt the Parliament of Kenya. We have a job to do. And we are not going to relent. I know there are people who want to politicize that exercise. We will be extremely firm and neutral. And I am informed by DCI that high-level prosecutions will ensue anytime from now, including political leaders who financed, and we have evidence they financed people to loot shops, to kill Kenyans, expose them to danger, and we cannot countenance the kind of mayhem we saw in July and June, for whatever reason. And that's why I've said this job is a bit, it's a very unpopular job. We will do it. So we are going to prosecute high-level people who assisted criminals to harm other people, to destroy infrastructure. And they even made an attempt to actually bring down such a serious institution like the Parliament of the People of Kenya. I submit.
Thank you so much, CS. Lastly, Waziri, I had mentioned to you that we discussed and we had a supplementary question, which of course you did reply, and I read the reply in Parliament. But taking into consideration the public interest in it, the missing of an MCA in Wajir County. So I don't know what different.
Honorable Chair, I have not gotten that request for statement. I'm just hearing it today. The first time I heard about it is through you, Chair, when you told me the member for Eldas would request an answer, a response on that. I want to plead with the committee to give me time, prepare a statement. I'm aware of the matter, but I need an updated, verifiable statement. I am aware of what happened, and I'm aware that some progress is being made to make sure there is accountability. But I am afraid, Chair, I will not have a quality statement because I was not prepared before this meeting began. I submit.
Maybe I will give Kenan to respond, Waziri. But I think I was honest to say that you did reply the first statement, which actually the members were not satisfied. They asked me through the speaker to look for updated, as you put it, which I did talk to your officers yesterday. But I don't deny the fact that maybe the notice was too short for you to. But maybe, I don't know whether the MP for Eldas will comment on that.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Waziri. Waziri, we all understand that security is very dynamic, very complex, and highly sensitive. That notwithstanding, this is the 16th day an elected leader is missing. We all understand, Waziri, Kenya is a member a responsible member of the international community. And over the years, we have prided ourselves as a security hub, as a conferencing hub, as a lead in everything. But we are forgetting that in this era, we have social media as one of the emerging arms of government. And this is the reality. We have lived with the three traditional arms. The first arm, you may not agree because you are a member of the executive, is parliament, the legislature. The executive and the judiciary. Right now, we have the social media effect, we have the NGO community, and many other emerging arms of government. What I really don't understand is not understanding the definitional issue. In my mind, as a leader who has been around, I don't know whether I have your attention, sorry. In my mind, as a leader who has been around, who's familiar with the modus operandi, even modus vivendi of our security agencies, which you had. You are the civilian face of the Homeland Security. When such a high profile, me, I'm persuaded is abduction, and it can have two faces. When we have put all these efforts to project Kenya, to promote Kenya, locally, regionally, internationally, and even our forces are there in Haiti. Why is Haiti there in that state? Because of the effects of Goonism and gangsters and everything else that the administration then failed to act on. Is it what is happening in Kenya right now? A step towards that direction. Because a leader has been abducted, a leader is missing, to use the police word. A leader cannot be accounted for, yet to date, other than the mere OP acknowledgement in Makadara police station, we are yet to see a high-level response from the security agencies. That compounds the challenge in this era, Waziri, of constitutional accountability, adherence to the rule of law, and accountability. You have used the word constitutional accountability. By now, we expected that every day we'll be getting progress report. I do not want to downplay the comment that you have made, that you're making some progress and therefore you'll issue a comprehensive test, because we also understand that sometimes some of these things require a lot of delicate handling. But what compounds, Waziri, put yourself in the shoes of the voters of that elected representative, the family, the relatives, his representative who is talking to you. No statement, nothing, business as usual, nothing is happening. So Waziri, I want to give you lead questions, which you also understand. On 6 August, this particular state officer, leader, was summoned by the County Security Committee Wajir. For whatever reason, I learned this recently. And they have every right to interact with everybody. The same person, on 10th September, the entire Homeland Security heads were also in Wajir. On 11th September, the gentleman traveled to Nairobi. On 13th, he went missing. He was abducted. The venue, the location, it's as a result of our collective efforts that we have CCTVs everywhere. This honorable member called for the service of an Uber driver. He has made a statement, he has made an affirmation on, under, off, which I also tabled through the chairman before the House. So Waziri, and I know you are a lawyer, an astute lawyer, criminal responsibility is individual. I do not want to delve into that. But equally, we must also be accountable to the due process of law. That due process of law is what we are questioning. I want to plead with you. And I will say this without fear, without favor, without any contradiction, without an iota of doubt. And you know, I'm an old, seasoned, experienced legislator, and I've been around. If this particular leader has committed any crime, he's supposed to be before a court of law, not in detention, not in the name of abduction. What you have done, the achievements that you have made over the last 2 years as the substantive CS internal security, for those of us who have been around, is commendable. But some of these silly actions, you can call them rowdy officers, overzealous officers, you can call them of lack of whatever name that you call them, completely destroys that big image that you have been trying to build. And I am also alive to the sensitivity and the challenge that sometimes you go through. So I want to plead with you as we wait for that comprehensive response. If it was in other jurisdictions, you know it. By now, an elected missing, some people will have taken responsibility, personal responsibility. It has two aspects. Assume even in the worst case scenario, which is not in this case, that he has been abducted by criminal elements. Do you want to say that Kenya is a banana republic? Why are these criminal elements who have been abducting people, and so many people have been released, why are they not being taken into court? Waziri, you understand this. Me and you have gone to the same university. You understand this. That is not one of the tenets that we have been taught. It is not. It's completely outside that. Can this, you know, by now I think you are familiar with our culture. I have the entire community in Nairobi. So you can also imagine the burden, the entire community, because their leader is missing. I have to recharge my telephones every second, every minute, because of the calls. I have nothing to say. In fact, the assumption is, because I'm an experienced legislator and I've been around, I can talk to all of you and say, yes, I've talked to all of you. Everybody's in denial. What message will I say? So I want to plead with you. Whoever is holding this guy, and they know where they are, and please, wherever you are, you know yourselves. Release this MCL.
That's okay. We should work
Allow
it
me,
out.
Chairman, this.
Yeah, but
Release this MCL. If you have evidence enough that can warrant him, just like we have alluded, because all of us are accountable to the rule of law. That's what separates us. Take him to court. Thank you, Wazir.
Okay, kindly members, I want to guide us this. I think the CS had actually asked that we give time to give more updated and comprehensive response, the latest. I appreciate the reasons and the ground why, of course, you need to say something, but maybe just to reinforce or the plea and what the Mheshimiwa Kenani is saying, I will give the two members briefly just to say something to the CS.
Thank you,
I
Chair.
understand.
Yes, and it's only fair that you give us a few minutes, Chair, and I appreciate that. Waziri, today, honestly, I'm not in the mood. Not just because I want it, because an MCA, an elected leader from my county, has been missing for the past 15 days. Today being 16th day. You mentioned you are not aware of the case. There's a communication from your office that we got through the chair on 24th that indeed the matter is under investigation. It's now 2 days since we got that investigation. And as a professor of law, the whole time you've been educating us on law, on how to safeguard the Constitution. From where I sit, I feel like we are applying the law, or we are implementing the Constitution selectively. When an elected leader is missing for the 16th day, don't you think he has all the rights to live? Don't you think as an elected member of parliament, he needs to be, he needs to be implementing and, doing the work he was elected for? That is something as a lawyer I want to understand. Two, Bwana Waziri, you said you don't want us to do abductions. Without an iota of doubt, I want to categorically say the government of Kenya is abducting the citizens of this country. Why I say that?
Mheshimiwa, kindly, you can only say that if you can substantiate that.
I'm going there, Chair.
Kindly, you know the procedures.
Okay.
So withdraw that one, and you are very smart in this letter.
As
Sorry?
I withdraw, Chair, let me just finish the statement. I say that because this honorable member, Mr. Waziri, got a summon from the security agencies. 2 days later, he's abducted. Any person who thinks will add, the tabulations that indeed it's the security agencies. If indeed it's not the security agencies, Mr. Waziri, how hard is it for the security agencies to come and say we don't have this gentleman, Mr. Waziri? My other question is, if an elected member of parliament can be abducted, how safe are we as the citizens? Personally, because of the things I've been doing and going through the meetings in search of the honorable member, I feel threatened, to be honest. I don't know whether I'm safe as an elected member of parliament because of the things and the meetings we go. Honorable Kenan mentioned how my community works. The entire county is in Nairobi. It's expensive for us to maintain them. We don't sleep in our houses, Mr. Waziri. We are running from one place to another. At one point, if I take you to my house, more than 50 people are in the house because of the elected member. Mr. Waziri, I feel very, miserable that the people who elected me right now, who feel I can bring the elected MCA by just advocating and talking in parliament, that nothing can be heard, nothing can be done. Mr. Waziri, to be honest, I feel like we are in a failed state. When you take an elected member, he's a human being, he can do anything. Why do we have the courts? Why do we have the constitution? You are a professor of law, Mr. Waziri. We are not happy from where we sit, even as a country, from Ojia, Mr. Waziri. Waziri, lastly, you said you initially started by condoning the extrajudicial killing and abductions. We want, when you say something, we mean it as a country. At the end of the day, the people we elected us are the people we work for. We will not support if they have done something wrong, Waziri. The entire Wajir country, from all the 6 constituencies today, are all out in demonstrating in the streets of Wajir, besides the government refusing to give them permit. We will not allow, Mr. Waziri. We will not allow our elected members to be disappearing. Then there's no need of us being elected in the first place. We rather stay home. We rather have a lawless country, Mr. Waziri. You are the Waziri I respect. I have a lot of regards for you. We want our honorable member back. We want our son back. We are not asking for much. He is in the hands of the security agencies. I don't know how to put more than that.
Thank you, Honorable Fatuma. I think you've been heard very well and clear. Vice Chair, Defense.
Thank you.
Maybe try
Chairman, I left a meeting of defense and we adjourned that meeting. So Waziri will not be meeting us. We are adjourned for another day. Waziri, I want to echo my colleagues, Honorable Kenan and Honorable Fatuma, on this matter. Really, it's a painful situation as it is. When we talk about the police where say we are not aware of this MCA, then it comes to our mind, do we have a gang that can really abduct? an elected leader for 16 days and the police are not really aware. And Honorable Kenan actually mentioned that, look, we are supporting Haiti on matters of dealing with gangs. And yet here we have a leader that is being abducted and we don't know where it is. And from where I sit, I know what is happening is that he is under the security agencies. The only thing is that because you are a professor of law and 24 hours has passed, now the issue of saying how do we hold him for this number of days is also coming up. In my place, in my concert quarters, Ramo, there was a demonstration because his siblings and his parents come from my place, even though they represent somewhere in Wajir. We are ready to forgive the security agencies for holding him for all this number of days. Please let him be released. It's unfortunate. When I looked at the statement yesterday and I contributed in the House and I said, this is a shallow statement just because you are not aware of the statement yourself. It didn't come through you. I look at the statements of the other responses. It's signed by Professor Kindiki. The other one, the one for the MCA Della, is not signed by Professor Kindiki. And it's true, you are not aware. That shows that we are not putting efforts about this MCA. Here we're talking about insecurity, cattle rustling, ABCD. We have a leader who is missing for 16 days. My plea is that let us release this MCA, whether by abducted by whoever, it doesn't matter. The Kenyan security agencies have capacity to find out where he is, whether by themselves or by other gangs. So my plea, I repeat, is that let us find where the MCA is. I know there's an issue of 24 hours has lapsed. We have held him for all this number of days. There's issue of all these things are coming up. I know, but what I'm trying to tell you is that he has been held. I've been in the security industry myself. I worked with Camoraso, and we have done some operations even before. We know. Let them release this MCA. Later, they can decide to take him to court or so. It doesn't matter. But the family is at pains. So mine is just to input that comment, and please take it serious. Even as you say that you want to do a statement later, let the statement come later, release him. You know where he is. You can
Thank you.
confirm.
That is okay, Bashir. Lastly,
thank you, Chairman. I just want to be very brief, Waziri. In the last administration, two of my constituents are still missing. They were elders from Boran and Gabra communities. And their families are going through very painful experience. Coming from a security background, I personally feel the issues of abduction to enforce the law or extrajudicial killing will not help Kenya to maintain peace and harmony. It is a very weak system because it undermines intelligence, it undermines information. There are so many things it undermines. And I think the best thing to happen, if anybody is seen to be breaking the law, they must have their day in court. The intelligence system, investigative agencies must cobble together as much information as possible so that people like leaders, let them be arrested in a decent manner. But I think what is slowly happening, if in case this particular individual is being held by the security agencies, it's a very weak form of enforcing the law. And I think we, as administration under President Ruto, many of us who are in that administration and supporting it, I think we would not wish to go that route. Thank you, Chair.
Of persons, poaching and ivory trade, organized crime like banditry and the rest, and drugs and so forth. Out of the police complement of 110,000, I speak from experience. We have some good officers in the service. However, I also speak with the same experience. We could have, and indeed we have, bad officers in the service. Otherwise, we cannot be talking about imperfections in our institutions. Among those that are involved in responding to serious existential threats to our country's security, 99% of them are extremely unlikely to misuse that power. And I'm speaking again from experience. I have been to every corner of this country, the most dangerous locations of our soil. I have been there. I have seen what they do, what they go through. I have seen young men, barely in their mid-50s, but very specially trained. They have lost life, they have lost limb as they fight terrorists and other sophisticated criminals, bandits, etc. So my thinking, and even as we handle this and a few other outstanding matters we have, remember the northern part of our country, we continue to work on the security there because for many years, for as long as Kenya has existed, we've had all these challenges. They have not started last year or this year. There were some foreigners also who were abducted in that general area of Marsabit. And we are on the trail. A bit complicated, a bit sensitive, but we're on the trail to also pursue, just as we are on the trail of this matter, because whether the person is arrested by whoever, first of all, if it is an arrest, the person will be presented to a court of law. That's what the law says. For terrorism and other sophisticated crimes, if you read the Prevention of Terrorism Act, there is a bit of leeway to allow special processing, which is from the Constitution itself, that has exceptions and derogations on certain automatic rights to deal with certain public security, public interest matters. That's why, for example, you see, like in the Shakahola suspects, we held that suspect without charging him for 1 year plus. You cannot do that for another suspect. Some other crimes, you cannot hold them even for more than 24 hours. You'll have problems with the court. So what we are saying, and this is my very humble request to you, Chair, and the committee, I would want to respond on this matter in a more comprehensive manner. Again, in the spirit of the urgency of the matter, I can submit to the committee what I require, the report, I mean the statement on where we are on this missing person whom we don't know. We don't know who took him. I know my brother here said that he knows, or I know who has this person. I don't. I'm a patriotic Kenyan. I love Kenya with all my heart, and beyond this job, I will not be part of any scheme to harm an innocent Kenyan and present them to grave danger or even risk their lives. So I actually don't know who has these people, but whoever it is, whether criminal gangs, whether law enforcement agencies acting outside their mandate, we will get to the bottom of it. And therefore, in the same 24-hour cycle, As I submit the supplementary information, I'll also submit what I will have signed off as the status of this matter. And then, Chair, you can guide how you communicate that to the committee. And if the committee also requires me again back, I'll be more than happy to comply with the request to come back for a verbal interaction on that matter. I submit, and I'm very sorry for what has happened to the leader and the other cases that we are tracking of people just getting lost, and it should not happen. But please bear with us. We are trying our best. We just have an imperfect system, and many countries around the world, maybe not the same measure, but they still have some imperfections they are working on. And I want to assure Kenya, I will not be the minister for Kenya's security. We will sit down and plan how the people of Kenya can get harmed by anybody. It is wrong, it is illegal, it is sacrilegious, and it undermines our democracy completely. We have no business sitting here. If we could even countenance for a moment that someone who is innocent or someone who needs to be arrested and taken to court is being held somewhere for fun, whatever that fun is, it is evil, it's unacceptable. So in 24 hours, I will sign off a statement which can go to the records. I request to withdraw the advance copy that was signed, and in 24 hours, I will send a signed copy which can be subject to further interrogation. I submit.
Thank you so much, Waziri. Of course, I'm convinced the members are satisfied with their response, and we look forward to a comprehensive response in 24 hours as you had committed together with the rest. So as we prepare to wind up, Mheshimiwa Ngelechei, I'm seeing Commissioner again, and Commissioner, what is it?
Chair, I wanted to talk about this issue of abduction, but it's gone. But now that we have been told that the minister will not be going to Senate, and for the mere fact that it has been difficult to get the minister, particularly to me, I would wish, Chair, through you, that we have a small session with the minister before he goes, with the committee.
Your record.
Chair will guide, and I'm sorry for not being as available as I would have wanted. And thank you, Chair. You'll guide us. I was actually to appear before the National Assembly Committee on Defense on the Laikipia training, the Batuk issues. So I hope, Chair, you'll assist me to talk to your counterpart so that he doesn't think you advise.
Already.
Thank you. But I hope you, okay, thank you very much.
Of course, they had written me a lot of SMSs.
Yeah, but it's this nature. In fact, what we do maybe in future, my suggestion, if you allow me, Chair, is we have maybe 3-4 hours when I appear here. We take maybe from as early as possible to lunchtime, so that we exhaust as much possible most of the things. In any case, I'm appearing before plenary next Wednesday. So again, that's another opportunity to ventilate on some of the issues through supplementary questions.
Thank you so much. But nevertheless, we really appreciate it. The accumulated backlog of statement and question could be attributed to the issue of the solution of cabinet before. So it's well understood. So as we wind up, Honorable Ngelechei wanted something to do with the payment of NPR. So maybe what was it?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring to the attention of the CS that there is a problem in the remuneration of NPRs. There is some inconsistency. Some OCPDs stay with their money for long, others accumulate for several months, others disrespect the Raya NPR and not even pay them. So kindly harmonize and ensure that at least there's something small they are getting gets to them. Thank you.
Effective next month, we have said no more cash payments. The money will be sent directly by M-Pesa to the police reservist.
Of course, you should have also challenged her and us that maybe moving forward in the issue of budget, we see a way of enhancing it at the same time.
When you see our requests, you know those requests has to secure your people. Please support us with the budget.
So thank you so much, members. Thank you, Waziri. We have to adjourn, is already one, and we really appreciate you are there, really help us a great deal. We had too much backlog. Thank you.
Tunaingia vijijini, mijini na hata jijini kukuletea taarifa mchana kutwa. Usiku tunakaa kitako, tunadadavua tukichanganua taarifa na makala muhimu yanayokuhusu wewe na familia yako.
Nasikia watu wanasema baba ametusaliti. Between baba kutusaliti na sisi kusaliti baba, nani amesaliti mwingine?
Inapeangwa, it mostly goes to foreign ministries. So Baba is overqualified for that position.
To build this railways for Africa. So now he's thinking about tumemkataa kama baba wetu.
Unaweza kuwa kuna mtoto ulizaa ukapatia nchi ikuwa inamfanya vile inataka.
Uhuru has been working very hard. Ruto akaenda huko na nguvu. Ruto was never invited in the inauguration.
Ungana na Bernard Ngozi kwenye Open Forum Political Show kuanzia saa 4 usiku hadi dakika zake kila siku ya wiki kwenye Sound Card Talk.
Open Forum Political Discussion Show. The show that gives you an opportunity to air what you feel and think about the latest development.
Tukutane Sound Card Talk.
Unatazama Sound Card Talk. Toa sauti yako usikike. Tunajipenyeza kwenye vitongoji, mijini na jijini kukuletea matokeo ya matukio kila yanavyoibuka. Mbashara. Tuko bora kwenye mitandao ya YouTube, Facebook, TikTok na X kwa taarifa tendeti, udadavuzi mwafaka na makala muhimu yanayokuhusu. Tazama Sound Card Talk upate ufahamu.
extensive security network in this country, where are these people and who are they? They must have been reported. Whoever reported must have indicated who their names are, their ID numbers, and any form of identification. It will do good for this country, Honorable Speaker, Chair, if the Cabinet Secretary could be forthright and give us information, because I'm sure this is not classified information. Those who have died have been buried. Those who are missing have been reported and they are in the OB. It's not, it's not state secret. Probably if you answer that, you'll allow me to answer to request further questions, Chair.
Anybody with a follow-up question to regarding the same? If none, we'll let the minister.
Honorable Chair, I, to some extent, agree with the member on the adequacy of that response. And you will notice, Honorable Chair, that yesterday I had, my office had forwarded a statement which we asked to amend by the current statement that we submitted this morning. And the reason for that adjustment is as follows, that as I have said, the number of those who died is 42. But that statement had identified up to 30 of the deceased. So what I asked the police to do, and I think it was just like, because the information is there, it has always been there. These numbers and who died where, in what circumstances, the context in which they died, some by bullet, others by mob, etc. That information is there. So I discovered that the information given was up to case number 30. So I asked them to update the other 12 because death is a legal consequence. And therefore, what I will be pleading with this committee is to be given 24 hours. You already have the statement that has up to 30 of the deceased. The other 12 could be provided as supplementary information in 24 hours. As I have said many times, the government of Kenya has nothing to hide. If a Kenyan died, we cannot hide the fact that a Kenyan has died. What we need to do is to find out the circumstances under which the Kenyan died and ensure that if there is culpability or culpability by any person, including a security official or a law enforcement agency, justice is served, because the law does not allow death outside what is permitted in law. To that extent, I agree the incompleteness of that response, and I beg for 24 hours to again supplement with a more detailed information that includes the last 12 of the cases that were not included in the list which I had forwarded already to the committee yesterday. Secondly, the member has talked about the policy. He believes that government has a policy on abductions, and I disagree with the member with a lot of respect. It is not true, because policy has to be stated, it has to be articulated. Policy cannot be, it's not nebulous, it's not abstract. I, as the minister who is responsible, and including the president himself, have made it clear in public, in private, in all forums, that this administration does not condone abductions or extrajudicial killings or enforce disappearances. So it is unfair to visit a policy of extrajudicial killings on government unless we are provided with the evidence of policy pronouncement, policy articulation that supports this kind of unlawful behavior. And going forward, I think the challenge we have, Chair, as a country, is just to make sure that anybody who breaks the law, even if they are law enforcement people, they are brought to account. And I think in the spirit of the national, the police and other security sector reforms which we have initiated, I want to promise Kenya that we will rein in on any excesses by law enforcement officials to use weapons that are bought with the taxes of the people of Kenya outside the law to harm the people of Kenya, to kill the people of Kenya, or even to arrest them in a manner that is inconsistent with the Constitution. In a nutshell, this government, and I say without fear of contradiction, does not condone extrajudicial killings, does not condone abductions by any person, whether a criminal or a law enforcement agency. Lastly, the member has asked about the missing persons. Again, the supplementary list will contain the OB number and the people who are reported missing per county. I think Nairobi has the highest, Nyandarua I think was the highest, Nyandarua had 13 cases reported. But what I want to inform the committee chair through you is that it is not scientifically correct to say that when someone is reported missing, they have been abducted. It is also not scientific to say that if a missing person report has been made, that person has been abducted because they were participating in a demonstration. We have had a problem in this country for the last so many years of persons who are reported missing. Some of them have been traced eventually after months, others after weeks, others after years, others have never been found. And therefore, while we got some missing person reports from actually across the country, incidentally, including some of the parts of the country where the demonstrations were not violent or were not even present. And that breakdown per county is provided. And therefore, with the great respect to the committee, I want to submit, Chair, that again, just like the cases of the deceased people, those who died, though those who are reported missing, we continually to look for them, to trace them, and we are appealing for information that can help us trace them. And it is the business of the police to make sure that the country is safe and people are protected from criminals. And it cannot be the policy of this government to support any harm on any Kenyan for politics or for whatever reason, because that would violate our constitution. I submit.
Finally, Chair, just on the same issue, Waziri, a number of these people who were killed, the 42 according to your record, even though normal media and through ISK and other LSK and other organizations say the number is much, much higher. Actually, yesterday in the news, they talked about 61 cases and several numbers are still missing up now. You have admitted quite a number of these so-called people who were killed by bullets. And obviously, those are police bullets. And obviously, you must have a traceability mechanism to know who was assigned what gun, what kind of ammunition was assigned. Is it possible to trace and follow up and know exactly which police officer shot any particular member of these 42 who have died? And that being the case, having been killed, as we have clearly said, weapons bought by the people of Kenya, what measures have you put in place to ensure the bereaved families, the families who lost loved ones, their breadwinners, their hopes in life, what measures has the government put in place to compensate, even assuage or relieve their pain? What measures has the government put in place? Thank you, Chair.
Chair, I would like to respond to the further intervention by the honorable member as follows. That I have not admitted that any Kenyan was killed by the police. What I said is that some died because of bullet wounds. The process of proving the owner of the gun that discharged a killer bullet. It's a forensic process. And I am not ruling out the possibility that a police officer may have used their firearms outside the law. But just 2 comments there, Chair, which I honestly believe are in the best interest of the country for me to say at a time like this one, when we are grappling with serious balances. On one hand, we have a country to keep safe from crime, and on the other hand, we have also a country that has a constitution that gives wide-ranging liberties, including civil liberties. I want to say these 2 things. That firstly, Chair, police are allowed to use lethal force. Let's start from there. Police are allowed to use lethal force to kill, depending on the circumstances. There are parameters. Those firearms are supposed to neutralize dangerous criminals who pose danger either to the life of a police officer themselves or to the lives of the people. And I think that's a general principle. I am not trying to say that any of these cases fitted there. I'm just saying that the law allows the police to use lethal force. The question that the pursuit of justice must help us to answer is whether, if there is any police officer who used their weapon, whether that use was within the parameters permitted under the law. If they were not within the parameters, then that police officer must be held accountable. And I know I have been briefed, IPOA is already at an advanced stage of doing that investigations. It requires forensics. You can trace the bullet to a gun and the license, who owns that gun. The second point, and while I'm at that on the police use of force, I would like to, if you look at, for example, what happened in America on January 6, 2020, which, well, remotely could be similar to what we had, maybe not exactly, because those characters who came to Parliament were not coming for fun. Many of you members were there. They were not coming for fun. They were coming to burn down Parliament and kill people, basically. They were not coming to demonstrate and ask for the finance bill not to be passed. They were coming to cause grave harm. In fact, 2 days after that event, after we frustrated the effort to burn down Parliament and kill members, we arrested a suspect at 4 a.m. outside Parliament carrying fuel, intending to go and raise down the premises of Parliament. So the action we took on that day, therefore, and I'm not preempting the investigations, some lives were lost in the process. But I wanted, again, to be fair to our democracy, to compare that with what happened in the US on January 6, 2020, the attack on Capitol Hill, which was actually an attack on American democracy, forced the Senate of the US to make certain decisions and use violence, including harming people, to make a political statement. Lives were lost in that country, but they have never discussed that matter. No media, no person has discussed the lives that were lost on Capitol Hill to protect the American democracy. So that contextualization is extremely important. And Chair, I will not pretend, as the country's security minister, I hold the very strong view that for this country to remain sustainable and for our democracy to function, we must, within the Constitution, within the Constitution, make sure that the institutions established under our Constitution are protected, because if we overthrow constitutional institutions like parliament, judiciary, the executive, we have no country. The things we are discussing here, we will not have even this discussion where a parliamentary committee is grilling the security minister, because the country will not be there in the first place. So that is the first contextual matter I wanted to bring. And it is not true to argue or to submit that the police officer cannot use force. If we never applied force on that fateful day in Parliament, we would be talking about a different Kenya, a different scenario. The second and last issue, Honorable Chair, through you, is on the fact that somebody has been shot is not conclusive evidence that they have been shot by a police officer. It's not conclusive. Maybe there's a presumption that that bullet is the bullet of a police officer, but as a person who has practiced law for a quarter of a century, I can say this without fear of contradiction. The fact that somebody has died through a bullet where police officers were trying to control a crowd is not conclusive proof that that person has been killed by a police officer. And that's why the justice systems must help us establish the truth without shielding anybody. If a police officer went outside the law, they must be held accountable. To demonstrate my point, Rongai. In Rongai, we lost, to my mind, I think 2 people. And others were injured. What happened is that criminals invaded somebody's supermarket and started hurting people, and some were stabbed, workers, shoppers, etc. 2 police officers were guarding Equity Bank next to the supermarket, and they were armed. And the law allows a police officer to enforce the law, not necessarily where you are on duty that day, but if you realize there is breakdown of law and order, it is the